It was a quiet night at the city hospital. The sky outside was dark, and the stars were hidden behind thick clouds. Inside, everything was calm. The nurses moved quietly through the halls, checking on patients and writing notes on their clipboards. Machines made soft beeping sounds, and the lights on the ceiling gave a gentle glow. It felt like any other peaceful night. In the emergency room, there were no patients at the moment. The beds were empty, and the doctors were talking softly in the corner. A nurse yawned and stretched her arms. It seemed like nothing unusual was going to happen. But then, whoosh. The automatic glass doors at the front suddenly opened. The sound made everyone look up. Maybe someone was hurt? Maybe an ambulance was coming. But there was no stretcher, no rushing footsteps. Instead, a dog walked in. He was big and strong with thick fur, but he looked tired and dirty. His fur was messy and covered in dust. His eyes were not angry or scared. They were full of something else, something deep, maybe worry, maybe hope. The nurses froze. No one moved at first. A dog had just entered the emergency room by himself. That had never happened before. The dog walked carefully. He didn't bark. He didn't run. Slowly, he stepped forward with something held gently in his mouth. It was a bundle of cloth. One of the nurses rushed over. "What is that?" she asked softly. She slowly reached out her hands. The dog, his name was Rocky, though they didn't know it yet, stopped walking. He stood very still. The nurse carefully took the cloth from Rocky's mouth. It was light, soft, and then she saw what was inside. Her eyes went wide. "Oh my goodness," she gasped. "It's a baby." The room suddenly changed. The quiet turned into noise. The doctors jumped into action. "Get a blanket. Call the NICU team. Check his breathing. Quick." The baby was pale and not moving much. He looked cold and weak. One of the nurses touched his tiny chest. His heartbeat was very slow. Everyone worked fast. No one could believe it. A dog had brought a sick baby to the hospital. A dog had come for help. Rocky just stood there watching. He didn't move. He didn't bark. He just waited. The emergency room was now full of voices, quick steps, and the beeping of machines. Doctors and nurses worked together, moving fast but carefully. Everyone focused on the tiny baby. He was very weak. His skin looked pale, and his little body felt cold to the touch. His chest rose and fell slowly, like a candle flickering in the wind. They placed the baby on a small bed with soft blankets and quickly connected wires and machines to monitor his heart and breathing. One nurse gently gave him oxygen through a small mask. Another checked his temperature. A doctor pushed a button to call for a newborn specialist. The baby didn't cry, but he made a soft whimpering sound. It was faint, like a whisper. The doctors knew they had to act fast if they wanted to save him. Meanwhile, the dog, Rocky, stood quietly near the doorway. His tail was still. His ears twitched at the sound of the machines, but he didn't leave. He didn't bark or whine. He just stood there, watching everything with serious, tired eyes. One of the nurses, a kind woman named Sarah, walked slowly toward him. She knelt down to his level and spoke in a soft voice. "You brought him here, didn't you?" she whispered. Rocky looked at her. His eyes were full of something more than just fear or exhaustion. They held emotion, real feeling, like he understood everything that was happening. Sarah reached out her hand carefully. Rocky didn't move away. He let her gently touch his head. His fur was rough and dusty, but warm. She patted him softly. "You're a good boy," she said, tears forming in her eyes. "You're a very good boy." Nearby, the baby's heart monitor beeped again. this time a little stronger. One of the doctors looked up with relief. "His heartbeat is stabilizing," he said. "He's not out of danger yet, but he's fighting." The staff began to calm down. The first rush was over, but the baby still needed close care. A nurse wrapped him in a clean, warm blanket and whispered softly to him, "You're safe now, little one. You're going to be okay." Sarah turned back toward Rocky and asked gently, "Where did you come from, boy? How did you know to bring him here?" Rocky didn't answer, of course, but his eyes stayed on the baby. He seemed to understand that the child was finally safe. His job, whatever it had been, was almost done. A young doctor stepped forward and said, "We need to scan the baby for injuries. We should check for infection too. Poor thing looks like he hasn't eaten in days." As the baby was gently moved onto a special bed and wheeled away, Rocky took one step forward, then stopped. He watched them take the baby through the doors to the children's care unit, but he didn't follow. He seemed to know that the doctors would take care of him now. One nurse walked over to the front desk and picked up the phone. "We should call animal control," she said. Sarah shook her head. "No, don't. Let's call the police instead. This dog didn't just wander in. He came here on purpose. I think something bigger is going on." Minutes later, 2 police officers arrived at the hospital. One of them was Officer Carter, a kind but firm man who had been with the force for over 15 years. He looked at Rocky and raised his eyebrows. "Well, you're not something we see every day," he said. The other officer, a younger woman named Officer Lynn, crouched beside the dog. "He's not just smart," she said. "Look at him, he's trained. The way he listens, the way he stayed calm in the hospital. I bet he's had some kind of training, maybe even military or police." Officer Carter nodded. "Let's check him for a microchip." They brought over a small scanner and moved it slowly over Rocky's neck and back, but nothing beeped. "No chip," Carter said. "He's off the radar." Still, Rocky didn't growl or resist. He stood still, even when Carter gently clipped a leash to his old collar. It was worn and dirty, but still strong. "I don't think he's a stray," Carter added. "I think he belongs to someone, or used to." The officers looked around, thinking, if this dog had brought a baby all the way to the hospital, there had to be a story behind it. Something serious, something painful. Carter gave the leash a light tug, just to test. "Show us the way, boy," he said softly. To everyone's surprise, Rocky began to walk, not fast, but steady, like he knew exactly where to go. The doctors and nurses stood at the hospital door, watching as the brave dog led the officers into the night. Back inside, in a quiet hospital room, the baby, now named Tommy by the nurses, slept peacefully for the first time in days. He had been saved, and it was all because of a dog named Rocky. Rocky walked down the dark streets, his steps slow but sure. The leash was loose in Officer Carter's hand, but the dog didn't pull or hesitate. He seemed to know where he was going. The 2 officers, Carter and Officer Lynn, followed closely behind. Their police car stayed a short distance back, moving slowly to light the path. It was late at night, and the streets were quiet. The shops were closed, and only a few lights glowed in the windows of houses. "Look at him," Officer Lynn said softly. "It's like he's leading us somewhere." Officer Carter nodded. "He's got purpose. He's not just wandering." They passed through narrow alleyways and crossed small roads. Rocky didn't stop to sniff or rest. His eyes were focused. After about 15 minutes of walking, he stopped in front of a small rundown house. The paint on the outside walls was peeling, and one of the windows was broken. The front door hung open just a little, swinging in the breeze. There were no lights on inside. "This must be it," Carter said. Rocky stood at the door, looking back at them, as if asking permission to go in. Carter nodded, and the dog gently pushed the door open with his nose. The officers stepped inside carefully, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The air inside the house felt heavy and sad. It smelled like dust and old food. The floor creaked under their feet. There were clothes scattered everywhere and dishes stacked in the kitchen sink. But no one was home. They moved from room to room. Most of the furniture was old or broken. In the living room, a small sofa sat pushed against the wall, and beside it lay an empty dog bowl. "Looks like someone lived here recently," Lynn said. They reached a bedroom at the end of the hall. The door was half open. Inside, they found a crib in the corner with a torn blanket inside. The mattress was stained and thin. Beside it, on the floor, were a few baby toys and a half-empty baby bottle. "This must be where the baby lived," Carter said quietly. Rocky walked into the room and lay down beside the crib. He rested his head on the edge, looking tired. "He remembers," Lynn whispered. "He must have watched over the baby here." Carter noticed a piece of paper on the small table near the crib. It was folded and a little dirty, but still readable. He picked it up and opened it. There was a short letter written in shaky handwriting. "I can't take care of my son anymore. I have no one left, only Rocky. I know he will protect him. Please forgive me." It wasn't signed, but the message was clear. The mother was desperate, maybe scared. She loved her baby, but couldn't care for him anymore. She trusted the dog to save her child. Lynn's voice broke the silence. She gave him up, hoping someone would find him. Carter nodded. And Rocky did just that. They searched the rest of the house, but there were no signs of the mother. No phone, no wallet, no clothes packed in bags. It looked like she had left in a hurry. Back outside, the officers asked around the neighborhood. Most people were asleep, but one older man opened his window and leaned out when they knocked. "You're looking for the girl who lived there?" he asked. "That's Lily. She lived with her baby and a dog. Haven't seen her in a few days. She used to sit in the park sometimes across the road." The officers thanked him and headed toward the small park nearby. It had a few benches, a rusted swing, and a broken water fountain. Under a tree, they saw someone sitting with her arms around her knees. She was thin, her clothes dirty, and her hair messy. Her eyes were red, and her face was pale. As they got closer, she looked up. "Lily?" Carter asked gently. The girl looked confused and scared. "Who are you?" "We're police officers," Carter said. "We found your baby." Her eyes went wide. "My baby? My Tommy?" Her voice cracked. Is he alive?" "He's alive," Lynn said softly. "He's in the hospital, a little weak, but getting better." Tears ran down Lily's cheeks. She covered her face with her hands and began to cry. "I didn't know what else to do," she sobbed. "I had no money, no food. I thought maybe someone would find him. I trusted Rocky." Carter sat beside her on the bench. "You did the right thing in the end. Rocky did something amazing. He saved your son." Lily nodded through her tears. "I just want to see him." "Please." "You will," Carter promised. "Come with us." As they walked back to the police car, Rocky padded quietly behind them. His job wasn't finished. Not until mother and child were together again. Lily sat in the back of the police car, her hands shaking. Her clothes were dirty, and her eyes were swollen from crying. She held her arms tightly around herself, like she was trying to stay warm, even though the car's heater was on. Rocky sat beside her on the floor of the car. His eyes looked up at her gently, as if to say, "It's okay now." Officer Carter glanced at her in the mirror. "We're almost there," he said softly. "The doctors are taking good care of your son. You'll see him soon." Lily nodded slowly, her voice barely a whisper. "Thank you." They pulled into the hospital parking lot, and Officer Lynn helped her out of the car. The bright lights above the entrance made Lily squint. Her legs felt weak, but she kept walking. Inside, the hospital was busy again. Nurses moved quickly through the halls, and the beeping of machines filled the air. It was no longer the quiet night from before. People were awake now. The story of the dog who saved a baby had already started to spread. As they entered the children's ward, Lily looked around nervously. Her eyes searched every room until finally she saw him, tiny, pale, and wrapped in soft white blankets. "Tommy," she whispered. She rushed to his side, careful not to disturb the wires and tubes connected to him. The baby's chest moved slowly as he breathed. His skin looked a little better now, and his tiny fingers twitched gently. Lily fell to her knees beside the bed, tears falling from her eyes. She touched his hand carefully. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I didn't want to leave you. I didn't know what else to do." Officer Carter stood back, watching the moment silently. A nurse came over and knelt beside Lily. "He's a strong little boy," she said kindly. "We're giving him oxygen, fluids, and medicine. He was very cold and weak when he arrived, but he's improving." Lily turned to her, her voice shaking. "Is he going to live?" The nurse smiled gently. "Yes, he just needs rest and care." Lily covered her face again, overwhelmed by emotion. "I thought I'd lost him," she said. "I thought I'd never see him again." Rocky walked over to her and placed his head on her lap. She looked down at him and stroked his fur. "You did it, Rocky," she whispered. "You saved him." The nurse looked at the dog in amazement. "Is that the dog who brought him here?" "Yes," Carter replied. "That's Rocky. He carried the baby all the way to the emergency room." Lily looked at Carter with tears in her eyes. "I left the baby with Rocky because I knew he would protect him. He's the only one I trusted. I didn't have food, money, or anyone to help me. I thought maybe Rocky would find someone who could." "And he did," Carter said. "You trusted the right one." Lily sat by the bed for a long time, holding Tommy's tiny hand and watching him breathe. Rocky stayed beside her, not moving. Later that night, the hospital staff gave Lily a blanket and something to eat. She hadn't had a proper meal in days. For the first time in a long time, she felt a small bit of hope. She looked at her baby, her dog, and the people who had helped her. The pain in her heart was still there, but something new had started to grow. Something like peace. Outside the room, Carter spoke with the nurse. "We'll get social services involved," he said. "She'll need support, but she clearly loves her son. We'll make sure they stay together." The nurse nodded. "And we'll keep checking on Tommy." As Lily watched her baby sleep, she whispered again, "Thank you, Rocky. You gave me my son back." The next morning, the sun came up gently through the hospital windows. Light fell across the white walls, making the room feel warm and calm. For the first time in many days, Lily slept peacefully on a small chair beside her baby's bed. Her head rested on a pillow the nurse had given her, and a blanket was wrapped around her shoulders. Tommy was doing better. His color had returned, and he was breathing on his own now. His tiny fingers moved, and once or twice, he even made a soft noise, like a sigh. The doctors smiled when they checked on him. "He's getting stronger," one nurse said. "This little one is a fighter." When Lily woke up, her eyes went straight to Tommy. Seeing him sleeping peacefully brought tears to her eyes again, but this time they were happy tears. She reached out and gently touched his hand. "Good morning, my baby," she whispered. "Mama's here." Rocky was lying beside her chair. He looked up and wagged his tail softly. He didn't bark. He didn't move too much. He just stayed close, like he always did. Lily leaned down and hugged him tightly. "Thank you, Rocky. You saved my little boy. I'll never forget what you did." Later that day, the hospital staff and police worked together to help Lily. A kind woman from social services named Mrs. Parker came to speak with her. "We're going to help you, Lily," she said kindly. "You don't have to go through this alone anymore. We'll help you find a safe place to live, food for both of you, and a job if you're ready." Lily looked down, her voice quiet. "I just want to take care of Tommy. I'll do anything for him." Mrs. Parker smiled. "And now you can." With the help of the community, things began to change quickly. A local shelter found a small apartment for Lily. A group of kind people donated baby clothes, blankets, and food. One woman even gave Lily a stroller and a bag full of baby supplies. Lily couldn't believe it. People she didn't even know were helping her. After so many days of pain and worry, it felt like a dream. A week later, Tommy was strong enough to leave the hospital. Lily held him tightly in her arms as they stepped outside. The sun was shining, and the world looked new. Rocky walked beside them, his head held high. He wasn't just a dog anymore. He was a hero. As they reached their new home, Lily looked around. It was small, but clean and warm. She smiled through tears. "We're safe now," she whispered. She looked at Tommy, then at Rocky. "And it's all because of you." Rocky wagged his tail again and lay down by the door, keeping watch as always. It was the beginning of a new life. For Lily, for Tommy, and for Rocky, the dog who never gave up.